Who is going to step up for the Golden Knights during this tough time? We're going to preview tonight's important matchup against the Islanders. And is there concern in the locker room? Me and Chris will talk all about it on Locked On Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for checking out the Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Golden Knights. You already know that this is exclusively on YouTube. Make sure to check out, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Monday through Friday, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights with myself and Tony. And again, me and Chris do this every Saturday. We run the Chris and Chris show. All right, so Chris, let's talk about some updates for injuries right now, and then we'll see who we might think can be the hero to get the Golden Knights through this tough time right now. All right, here's the injury list as best as I know it right now. Adin Hill, but Adin Hill has begun skating and he logged a practice recently on Friday. I'm assuming Adin's going to practice on Saturday and a little bit next week. Adin Hill, you okay over there, Chris? You good? You good?
Yeah, I'm checking my schedule.
Like checking your schedule. Okay, good. Important things you got to schedule over there. Adin Hill should be coming back at some point next week during the back-to-backs against Colorado and Boston. So look for that. Shea Theodore remains out, no return in sight. Korczak out, no end in sight. Ben Hutton out, no end in sight. Kolesar missed Thursday's game against the Panthers due to illness, should draw back in tonight. William Karlsson has already been ruled out for Saturday's game against the Islanders, and the team will reevaluate where he is next week. I don't like that at all. So, Chris, my question for you, you're going to start this off right now. All these injuries, all these bad things happening in January to the Golden Knights. What player or players do you think can step up to get the team through this tough time and get them back to their winning ways?
I think definitely Jack Eichel is going to be a helpful. Captain Mark Stone.
All-Star Jack Eichel, Chris. Jack Eichel named to the All-Star game for the Golden Knights.
The All-Star Jack Eichel.
There you go.
All-Star Jonathan Marchessault.
You think he's going to be an All-Star? You think Marchie's going to make the All-Star game too? We'll find out soon.
And then when Adin Hill rides, I think he's going to be a good player too. So
I'm with you. I mean, someone really needs to put this team on their back right now. So the Golden Knights had a tough game against the Panthers on Thursday. They scored the first goal of the game. So Coach Cassidy moved some players around. He put Stevenson and Mark Stone back on the same line. Those two have a lot of history together. And Pavel Dorofeev drew with that line as well. Pavel Dorofeev got the game's only goal for the Golden Knights off of a shot that was a rebound from Mark Stone. So Mark Stone finds a way to contribute no matter where he is in the lineup, which is important. So I'm with you on Stone. Eichel, yes. I mean, he's got 40, 41 points on the season. Whatever the number is, he's the all-star. It kind of all starts and ends with Jack Eichel. But I'm really hoping, Chris, like a Mike Amadio, a Brett Howden, Dorofeev, the more games that he gets, Nicholas Waugh. Like, I'm really hoping some of these non-all-stars on the team, some players who are not necessarily expected to carry the mail. Maybe a Zach Whitecloud gets a goal, something like that. We'll see if Bjornfoot's going to draw into the game. The Golden Knights claimed another player off of waivers from the LA Kings. Bjornfoot practiced yesterday with the team, and we'll see in a little while if he's going to draw into tonight's game or not. So defensive reinforcements can be very, very helpful. So besides one of the household names, Chris, like an Eichel and a Marchessault or a Barbashev even, who do you think, like an Amadio, a Howden, what do you think about someone like that stepping up and maybe carrying this team for a little bit? Can they do it? Are they capable? Is someone like Brett Howden, like Like, it doesn't have to be every night, but maybe the question, I should frame this a little differently, Chris. Can the Golden Knights count on one of the second units of players, as Bruce Cassidy calls them, or the second wave? Can a different player do something big each night to have an impact on the game in the absence of those 5 or 6 players I named to start the show?
White Cloud, I think. White
I
Cloud.
like that.
Wah. And that's it.
Do you feel, Chris, that the Golden Knights have, I mean, they're being tested right now. This is like season 5. We've talked about season 5 before, where just so many injuries. Logan Thompson tried to be the hero to get him into the playoffs, but unfortunately it didn't happen. I mean, I guess maybe the other question I should ask you, Chris, are you concerned with watching what's happening that the season could possibly get away from the team and possibly miss the playoffs? Can you see that happening, Chris? Or do you think that's not a concern at all?
That's definitely not a concern at all.
Okay, so you think some way, somehow, as players get back to health, there's brighter days ahead. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm with you, Chris. I'm with you. And we'll talk about my feelings on the locker room and based off of my observations when we get to the third segment. But I think that's also a key ingredient that really needs to be fixed for things to get better. So that puts a wrap on our first segment, just kind of talking about the injuries, who's going to step up, and who can maybe help get this team out of this funk right now. You know, last week we were talking, Chris, like, hey, they had that big win against the Kings. Maybe the team was back to their winning ways. And then here we are talking about concerns and who's going to step up and stuff. So tonight we'll be in attendance. Chris, you'll be with Grandpa in the seats. I'll be up in the press box doing my thing. The New York Islanders come to town. The only trip for the Islanders coming out west. This matchup concerns me, Chris. So what concerns me about the East Coast teams like the Islanders and the Flyers is they usually play physical, number one. And number two, they play a defensive strategy that usually limits rush chances and things like that. Rush chances, Chris, are like odd man rushes, 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, and breakaways and stuff. The Golden Knights are really good on the rush, but they haven't been very good from a foundation perspective when they've had to work a cycle and things like that. So are you concerned, Chris, that the Islanders are going to be able to shut down the Golden Knights tonight? Or do you think the Golden Knights find a way, without giving your prediction yet, do you think the Golden Knights find a way to score 3 or 4 goals tonight?
I think the Golden Knights are at least getting 2 goals tonight. At least.
Is 2 goals enough to win the game? Why?
Because I feel like the last time we played the Islanders, they were really good at scoring.
Say that last part again. I didn't understand you, buddy.
I feel like they're really good at scoring in this season.
So the New York Islanders, Chris, I got the numbers here in front of me. They have scored 119 goals. They've given up 125 goals. So they've actually given up more goals than they scored. How that compares to the Golden Knights? The Golden Knights have scored 128 goals. So the Golden Knights have scored more goals and given up less goals at 110. One thing I noticed when me and Tony were doing the show on Friday, most likely Sorokin will be in nets for the Islanders right now. He's 12-6 and with 8 overtime or shootout losses. That's a lot. He has a 9-1-12 save percentage, which isn't bad. 9-12 isn't bad, but his goals against at 3-1-0 are not good either. So what that tells me is he faces a lot of shots and he doesn't get a lot of goal support, because when the save percentage is decent but the goals against are high, you're facing a lot of shots, and he's probably losing a lot of games 4-3 and 5-4. So the Islanders are not playing as good defensively, but they're not playing that bad either. So there's opportunity for the Golden Knights to hopefully score some goals. I mean, it's going to take, if they score 2 goals, Chris, I'll tell you right now, they're losing 4-2 or 5-2. That's just not a good path to victory. Logan Thompson's been struggling. We have to acknowledge that. I I hate dumping on him, but the reality is Logan Thompson is struggling. The reality is the defense and forwards in front of him are not playing any better either. So it would be nice if Logan Thompson had that gear to carry the team, and I think he does. We go back to how well he played early in last season. We go back to how well he played in season 5, where he almost single-handedly brought the Golden Knights to the playoffs. But, is Logan Thompson potentially playing through an injury right now? Is he able to process his situation? Who knows? These are all questions that really need to be answered by the team, and hopefully with some better play. So give me a prediction, Chris. What do you think? Give me 2 players you think will have an impact on the game, and give me a score prediction.
I think Eichel is going to be able to work this game, and is Kolesar playing?
Kolesar should be playing tonight.
Let's go Eichel and Kolesar.
Ooh, Chris has got some confidence in Coley. You got a score, buddy? Got a score?
I can't think. I'll think of it. You do your predictions, and I'll think.
You want me to do mine first? Okay, I'll give you mine. All right, so like I said, I really want to see the next wave of players step up. I know Eichel can score. I know Barbashev can contribute. I know what Stone can do. I know what Marchessault can do. I know what all these guys can do, but I really want to see that second wave. So let's throw Howden into the mix. Let's go Howden and Waugh. Howden and Nick Waugh. Those are the types of players, and like Mike Amadio, all these guys, they are so important to this team right now as the Golden Knights' depth is being tested. So Howden and Waugh, hopefully I'll get them going. I think the Golden Knights got 3 goals in them tonight, but I don't think that's enough to win the game. I'm going to go 5-3 for the Islanders tonight. What do you say, buddy?
Okay. Islanders 5, Vegas 6, 8-round shootout.
That's so good. All right, so putting a bow on the predictions, I got 5-3 Islanders, Howden and Waugh. Little Chris has Eichel and Kolesar. 6-5 Golden Knights win in an 8-round shootout. One of these days, Chris, you're going to nail one of these predictions, and it's going to be just so awesome, and we're going to get like 100,000 views so we can go back and say, look what Chris did. So big game for the Golden Knights tonight. Yes, they need a win, but it just they need to feel like they're in the game. Kind of like we just had a game this morning, right, Chris? We lost 2-1, empty net goal, 3-1 at the end, whatever to that. 2-1 is when it mattered. There's an empty net goal at the end of the game. So 3-1, we lost, but we were in the game the whole time. Like, I don't feel like it was a bad game. We had a really good game this morning. The team played great. Our goalie played great. And, just a couple bounces go the other way. Maybe we win the game. So winning the game is super important for the Golden Knights. But if they lose this game 3-2, 4-3, but they're in it, they're not giving up bad goals, that's still a step in the right direction. So hopefully it ends with a victory. All right. So I'm concerned about the locker room right now. I'm concerned about the state of the team right now. Brayden McNabb and Logan Thompson have had some very interesting post-game press conferences. Starting with Logan Thompson, this video is available on Locked On Vegas Golden Knights on the YouTube under the shorts section. After Logan had a great game against the Kings, he had a post-game interview. His head was down, hat in front of his eyes, making comments like he's happy to be coming to the rink every day. Don't know how long I'll be in the NHL or Vegas Golden Knight for. Okay, fine. Brayden McNabb made it a point to say twice in his post-game press conference, Chris, after the Panthers game, we're going to stick together. We're not turning on each other. There's a lot of love in this locker room. I forgot the exact wording, but he made it a point to say twice, we're not turning on each other. So I asked Brayden McNabb, is there a voice in the locker room right now? Is there someone stepping up, basically trying to ignite the team with a speech, accountability, whatever you want, however you want to shake that? Is there someone stepping up right now? So, Chris, buddy, I know you don't get to go in the locker room and all that fun stuff, maybe one of these days, but when you're watching these games like the Winter Classic and little bits and pieces of the highlights of the games like from school nights and stuff, do you feel that the Golden Knights are having trouble in the locker room, like yelling at each other, pointing fingers at each other? Do you think it's a good atmosphere right now? Is there something that you see?
No, I don't see anything.
Yeah. So, but do you think everything is good though in the locker room?
Yes.
You do think everything is good?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Tell me why. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Because
I know what your answer might be.
Because what Brandon McNabb said. Because you just clearly said it.
Okay. It's fair, Chris. And, when these guys do these interviews, they're usually very honest. Like some of the players, like Braden McNabb is actually a good example. Braden McNabb, he keeps things a little more by the book. Like Mark Stone really opens up. Jonathan Marchessault does a really good job opening up and breaking down a game, win, loss, or otherwise. Braden McNabb's press conferences are usually a little bit shorter. You don't really get that big sound bite where it's like, wow, I can't believe he said this. But when Braden McNabb is going out of his way to make points about the locker room being in a good place and they're not going to turn on each other, that means one of two things, Chris. It means exactly what you said. Braden McNabb could be telling the honest truth and saying everything is okay right now despite the circumstances. Or he could be covering it up because things are not okay. And in this world, it's fair to acknowledge both sides of that. What got me about the game the other night against the Panthers, the power play was terrible. They had 2 5-on-3s for basically almost 2 minutes of consecutive 5-on-3 time. Cassidy was not happy with what he was seeing, calls a timeout. He takes the clipboard to draw up a play, says the team wasn't executing the play he wanted, and no one can hit a one-timer and stuff like that. So the fact that Cassidy is kind of taking matters into his own hands also is a concern right now. But I'm going to ask you a quiz right now, Chris. You ready? There's something right above the Golden Knights bench. It's like really high up in the rafters. What am I referring to? You're looking right at it right now. Uh-oh, what's he doing? He's got a prop. Okay. What an answer. Wow, he just got the Stanley Cup. I was referring, turn it, Chris, so turn it to the middle so we can see the graphics on it. There you go. So there you go. That was Santa Claus knew what little Chris wanted. So Chris, buddy, you just did a mic drop right there. That was awesome what you just did, because that's exactly what I was referring to. I was referring to the banner, to be fair. You got the whole kit and caboodle there. You got the Stanley Cup, which is good. So I think it's important to acknowledge that. I mean, yes, the Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. That's not news, but it's important for the team to remember that they won the Stanley Cup. And they had tough times last year. They had a terrible road trip before the All-Star break. January last year, at least the second half of January, wasn't good. There was some really bad second periods of hockey, basically from November to February last year. So things got better. And boom, they lifted that Stanley Cup that you just did a mic drop on right on your desk right there, which was absolutely awesome. Not planned, Chris, but I think that was a brilliant thing you just did right there. Coach Cassidy calls the Golden Knights an imperfect team. And there's no perfect team, but the Golden Knights got their flaws. They had them last year, and they got them this year, but they still found a way to get it done. So as I talk about this concern, Chris, as I talk about who's going to step up right now, do you feel that the Golden Knights can right the ship and get back to their winning ways and then ultimately have a chance to get another one of those Stanley Cups?
The fact that they got better after the All-Star break last year, I think it's going to be an exact repeat of last season. We get better second periods after the All-Star break, which is only February 2nd and 3rd. So.
Yeah, so you're alluding to the All-Star break is in early February right there, and it's only January right now. The team has 42, 43 games to figure this thing out. So I think it's important to leave things with that. There's plenty of time for the team to figure this out. And it's January, okay? This is the toughest time. And look, just like at school, Chris, right? This is January. You're about halfway done with the school year. You got a couple good weeks coming up where you got a couple Mondays off, but then you're going to have a stretch where, you're going to be going to school, besides your weekends off, no extra days off and stuff like that. And it's tough to be at your best every day, right? You're going to be tired some days. Some days are going to be better than others. You might do good on one test. You might not do as well on one test. But, as it gets closer to the end of the year, you get a little more juice, you get a little more excitement, you get your focus back and stuff like that. So my long story longer, the point that I'm trying to make right now is this is January hockey. Yes, these games matter in the standings. 2 points is 2 points is 2 points. It's going to be razor thin because there's 5 teams that might win the Pacific right now with the way Seattle's playing, with the way Edmonton's playing. Vegas, Vancouver, and LA are up there as well. So it's going to be a tough finish for the Pacific Division. But the Golden Knights have that next gear, right, Chris? The Golden Knights know how important it is to win games down the stretch. They know how to win and close out a playoff series. So the glass is half full for me right now. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think it is for you. Well, your glass might be a little less than half full because you're taking a drink right now. But that's pretty funny. Come on, Chris. You should at least give me a smile. It's a terrible dad joke, but I'll take it. All right, Chris. There you go, buddy. Any final thoughts, Chris, about the Golden Knights and what's happening right now?
I realized in the Florida game, they had a great first period.
They had a good 12 minutes. Mark Stone felt that the Golden Knights dominated the first period. I respectfully disagreed with that. The Golden Knights had a really good 12 minutes, and then Denisenko took a penalty. Carrier took a penalty. And really from like 13 or 14 minutes into the period, the rest of the game, the Florida Panthers were good. But the point is, Chris, there is a positive takeaway from the game. The Golden Knights had a good starts. If they can find a way to play 60 minutes or 55 minutes of clean hockey, everything's going to be just fine. And it comes down to simplifying things, better puck management stuff you brought up in the last podcast, taking the easy play instead of trying to make, like you today, just chipping the puck in, letting the forwards chase it instead of trying to make a play. Same exact thing. Get the puck deep, let the forwards go to work, get that puck in the money zone, bam, get a goal. Easy enough, right? Done.
Mm-hmm.
Say it, Chris. Done.
Done.
There it is. That's it. Okay, we're done. We're done. That's how we're going to close this off. Folks, thank you so much as always. I love being able to have this opportunity to bring this to you. And for everyone that does watch the Chris and Chris show, definitely just want to express my gratitude, and on behalf of Chris, his gratitude as well. So much fun being able to do this. Chris and Chris show is every Saturday, YouTube exclusive. Myself and Tony Esco do this thing every Monday through Friday. That's anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube. Quick shout out to the everydayers and what I call the super everydayers that do tune in for the 6th day of Locked On Golden Knights. On behalf of myself and my little man over there, Chris, thank you very much for checking out Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, the Saturday Chris and Chris show. Take 1, 2, 3, care.